Vexhi's claws clicked against the control panel as he stared at the display screen. The numbers made no sense. In his 20 years working at Sentinel-7, the Empire's most advanced deep space monitoring station, he had never seen readings like these. The object had appeared for exactly 3 nanoseconds. 3 tiny moments of time that should have been nothing. But in those moments, their sensors had detected something moving through space at impossible speeds. The computer calculated the velocity at 0.97 times the speed of light. That was wrong. It had to be wrong. Computer, run diagnostic on sensor array 7, Vexhi commanded, his voice steady despite the growing worry in his chest. All systems functioning within normal parameters, the artificial voice replied. Vexhi's secondary arms twitched, a sign of stress among his people. The Catherians had ruled 17 star systems for over 1,000 years. Their technology was the most advanced in known space. Their fastest ships could reach 0.3 light speed, and that was considered miraculous. Nothing could move at 0.97 light speed. Nothing should be able to move that fast. The scanner console chimed again. Another reading. This time the object appeared for 5 nanoseconds before vanishing. The trajectory showed it moving through the outer edge of the Catherian territories, heading toward the core systems. Vexhi's breathing quickened as he realized what this meant. Alert! Alert! Unknown contact detected. The automated warning system began broadcasting throughout Sentinel-7. Red lights flashed across the command center as other technicians rushed to their stations. Senior Officer Crixty arrived within minutes, her golden uniform marking her as one of the Empire's elite. Report, she demanded, her 4 eyes scanning the displays. Unknown object moving at impossible speeds through Sector 77 Alpha, Vexhi explained, bringing up the sensor logs. Velocity calculated at 0.97 light speed. No identification signature. No communication signals, no energy trail we can recognize. Crixty's face went pale beneath her scaled skin. That's impossible. Run the calculations again. Already done, ma'am. 3 times. The computer confirms the readings. Vexhi pulled up the data streams. Look at these energy signatures. They don't match anything in our databases. Not Catherian, not Zephyrian, not any of the known species. The command center buzzed with activity as more officers gathered around the main display. The object had appeared again, this time for a full second, long enough for their advanced sensors to get a partial scan. The data that came back made everyone fall silent. The object was small, much smaller than any ship capable of interstellar travel. According to the scans, it was roughly the size of a Catherian fighter craft. But fighter craft couldn't travel between star systems. They lacked the power cores and dimensional drives needed for faster-than-light travel. Yet this small object was moving at speeds that made their fastest battleships look like they were standing still. Contact Admiral Zethmore immediately, Crixty ordered. Priority Alpha transmission. Within the hour, Admiral Zethmore's face appeared on the main screen. His scarred features and battle-worn appearance commanded respect throughout the Empire. He had led the conquest of 6 systems and never lost a battle. But even he looked troubled as he studied the sensor data. You're certain these readings are accurate? The Admiral asked. Yes, sir, Crixty replied. We've run full diagnostics on all systems. Everything checks out. The object is real and it's moving faster than anything we've ever encountered. Admiral Zethmore was quiet for a long moment. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship buzzed with activity. Any response to our identification requests? None, sir. We've broadcast on all standard frequencies. No reply. And you say it's heading toward the core systems? Vexhi stepped forward. Based on its trajectory, yes, sir. If it maintains current course and speed, it will pass through the Nexus system within 8 hours. The Nexus system was the heart of Catherian space, home to their capital world and the seat of the Imperial government. If this unknown object reached Nexus, it would be within striking distance of everything the Empire held dear. Admiral Zethmore's expression hardened. Initiate Defense Protocol 7. I want every ship in the Outer Rim on high alert. Deploy sensor drones along the object's projected path. If it shows hostile intent toward any Imperial world, we respond with full force. Sir, Crixty hesitated. Our analysis suggests this object possesses technology far beyond our current capabilities. If it is hostile, then we'll find out what it's made of, the Admiral cut her off. The Catherian Empire has never backed down from a challenge. We won't start now. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Vexhi watched the sensor displays, hoping for another glimpse of the mysterious object. When it came, the readings were even more disturbing. The object had changed course. Not gradually as any normal ship would, but instantly. One moment it was heading toward Nexus. The next it had shifted direction by 90 degrees and was moving toward the mining colonies in the outer territories. The maneuver should have torn any ship apart. The gravitational forces alone would have crushed the strongest hull materials known to Cytherian science. How is that possible? Whispered Tech Officer Lernax, staring at the data. It's not, Vexhai replied quietly. According to everything we know about physics, what we just saw can't happen. The object appeared again, this time in a completely different sector. Then again, hundreds of light years away. Each appearance lasted only moments, but each one provided more impossible data. The object seemed to ignore the basic laws of space and time, moving in ways that challenged everything the Empire thought it knew about the universe. As the hours passed, reports came in from other monitoring stations throughout Imperial space. The object, whatever it was, wasn't alone. Similar contacts were being detected across multiple systems, all moving at the same impossible speeds, all defying every attempt at identification or communication. Vexhai realized with growing dread that the Cytherian Empire, masters of 17 star systems and conquerors of countless worlds, had just discovered they were not alone in the universe. Something was out there, something with technology that made their greatest achievements look primitive. And whatever it was watching them. Admiral Zethmore stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominion, watching 3 separate holographic displays showing the positions of his hunting fleets. The largest military operation in Cytherian history was underway, and still they had nothing to show for it. Fleet Alpha reports negative contact in the Xerian system, Communications Officer Talmesh announced.
Fleet Beta is moving to intercept coordinates in Sector 12.
Fleet Gamma is holding position at the Sanctuary Nebula. 3 full Imperial fleets, 96 warships total, including the Empire's newest and fastest vessels, all hunting for objects that appeared and vanished like ghosts in the darkness of space. The Admiral's jaw tightened as another report came in. Sir, Fleet Beta Commander reports the target has vanished again. They detected it for approximately 2 seconds before it disappeared from all sensors. Fleet Commander Crixven appeared on the main communication screen, his usually calm demeanor showing cracks of frustration. Admiral, we had it cornered in the asteroid field. 3 ships positioned at optimal intercept points. The moment we closed to weapons range, it simply wasn't there anymore. Explain, Admiral Zethmore demanded. It didn't accelerate away. It didn't change direction. One moment our sensors showed a solid contact. The next moment our sensors showed empty space, like it never existed at all. Crixven paused, choosing his words carefully. Sir, I'm beginning to think we're not dealing with conventional propulsion technology. Admiral Zethmore had reached the same conclusion hours ago, but hearing it from one of his most experienced commanders made it real. What's your assessment, Commander? Whatever these objects are, they don't follow the rules we understand. They appear in one location, then appear in another location without traveling the space between. They ignore gravitational fields that should affect any ship with mass. They produce no heat signature despite moving at incredible speeds. The bridge crew listened in silence. These were concepts that challenged everything they knew about space travel and physics. The Cytherian Empire had built their power on understanding and controlling the fundamental forces of the universe. Now they faced something that seemed to ignore those forces completely. Fleet Alpha has detected multiple contacts, another officer reported. 15 objects moving in formation through the Twilight system. Admiral Zethmore turned to the tactical display. 15 red dots appeared on the holographic map, moving in perfect coordination through one of the Empire's most important industrial systems. Deploy all available ships to intercept. Authorization Omega-7. Omega-7 was the highest military authorization possible. It meant using any and all force necessary to protect Imperial interests. Within minutes, 42 warships were converging on the Twilight system, their weapons charged and ready. The Admiral watched as his ships took positions around the mysterious objects. For the first time in days, they had multiple targets in a single location, surrounded by overwhelming firepower. Whatever these things were, they would finally get answers. All ships report ready, sir, Tactical Officer Nexaran announced. The objects are maintaining position in the center of our formation. Open a channel on all frequencies, Admiral Zethmore ordered. Unknown vessels, you have entered Imperial space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately or we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly. Silence. The objects continued moving in their perfect formation, showing no response to the Imperial fleet surrounding them. Long-range sensors showed they were small, just as the previous contacts had been. But 15 of them moving together suggested coordination and intelligence. "Sir, the objects are beginning to move," the tactical officer reported. On the display, the red dots began separating, each taking a different direction. They accelerated instantly from rest to near light speed, passing through the gaps between Imperial ships before any weapons could track them. In less than 3 seconds, all 15 objects had vanished from the sensor grid. "Damage report," Admiral Zethmore said through gritted teeth. "No damage to any Imperial vessel." "Sir, but—" The tactical officer hesitated. "But what?" "The objects passed within meters of several ships during their exit. Our sensors detected massive energy discharges as they went by, but none of our ships were harmed. It's like they deliberately avoided causing damage." This information troubled the Admiral more than an attack would have. An enemy that attacked could be understood and fought. An enemy with the power to destroy 42 Imperial warships but chose not to was something else entirely. It suggested control, patience, and most disturbing of all, superiority. "Admiral," Communications Officer Talmesh spoke urgently, "we're receiving reports from monitoring stations across all Imperial sectors. The objects are appearing everywhere. They're conducting systematic scans of our military installations, shipyards, and major colonies." The tactical display updated to show dozens of red contacts throughout Imperial space. Every major system was being visited by the mysterious objects. They appeared long enough to conduct detailed scans, then vanished before any response could be organized. Fleet Commander Krixven's image reappeared on screen. "Admiral, my science teams have been analyzing the sensor data from all encounters. We've found something disturbing. Report. The objects aren't just scanning our installations. They're scanning our ships, our technology, our weapon systems. The energy patterns suggest deep-level analysis, the kind that would reveal every detail about our capabilities and weaknesses." Admiral Zethmore felt a cold realization settling in his chest. "They're conducting reconnaissance." "Yes, sir. Systematic, comprehensive reconnaissance of the entire Empire. They know our fleet positions, our defensive capabilities, our industrial centers, everything." The bridge fell silent as the implications became clear. The Empire had been mapped, cataloged, and analyzed by an unknown force with technology far beyond their own. Their every strength and weakness was now known to entities they couldn't catch, couldn't fight, and couldn't communicate with. "Sir," Tactical Officer Nexron said quietly, "there's something else. Analysis of the flight patterns suggests the objects are using some form of instantaneous travel. Not faster than light drive, but actual teleportation from one point to another." Teleportation was theoretical technology that Catherian scientists had studied but never achieved. The energy requirements alone should make it impossible for objects so small. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Admiral Zethmore stared at the tactical display showing Imperial fleets scattered across known space, all of them helpless against an enemy they couldn't even touch. For the first time in his military career, he faced an opponent that made him feel completely powerless. "Continue monitoring," he ordered finally. "Document everything. If we can't stop them, at least we can learn from them." But deep inside, Admiral Zethmore wondered if understanding would matter when facing technology this advanced. The Catherian Empire had built their power on being the strongest force in their region of space. Now they had discovered they weren't even close to being the strongest. The hunt had become something else entirely. They were no longer the predators. They had become the prey. The object appeared without warning in the heart of Imperial space. Admiral Zethmore was reviewing tactical reports when every alarm on the Dominion began screaming at once. The bridge erupted in controlled chaos as officers rushed to their stations, but this time was different. This time, the mysterious object had appeared directly between the Imperial homeworld of Kythera and Defense Platform Prime, the massive orbital fortress that protected the capital. "Distance from the object?" Admiral Zethmore demanded. 50,000 kilometers in holding position, Tactical Officer Nexron reported, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Sir, it's not moving. For the first time since we started tracking these things, one has come to a complete stop." The Admiral stared at the main display. There it was, a small red dot hanging motionless in space, close enough to threaten everything the Empire held sacred, yet far enough away to avoid immediate weapons fire. It was positioned with mathematical precision at the exact point where it could observe both the homeworld and their primary defense installation. "Get me a detailed scan," he ordered. The science officer, Veltara, worked frantically at her station, Sensors are having difficulty penetrating the object's hull, sir. What we can determine is that it's approximately 40 meters in length, roughly cylindrical in shape. The materials are unknown, but they're absorbing or deflecting most of our scanning attempts. Any weapon signatures? None that we can detect, sir. But given what we've seen of their technology, that doesn't mean it's not armed. Admiral Zethmore weighed his options. The object was within range of Defense Platform Prime's main particle cannon, the most powerful weapon in the Imperial fleet, but attacking might provoke a response they weren't prepared for. And if more objects appeared during a battle? Sir? Communications Officer Talmesh interrupted his thoughts. The object is transmitting. Every head on the bridge turned toward the communications station. After days of silence, the mysterious visitors were finally attempting to make contact. Put it on the main speakers, Admiral Zethmore ordered. Static filled the bridge for a moment, then cleared. When the voice came through, it spoke in perfect Catherian, with the formal diplomatic accent used in official Imperial communications. Imperial Fleet Command, this is Survey Vessel Pathfinder 7. We apologize for the delay in formal contact protocols. The bridge fell completely silent. The voice was calm, professional, and somehow familiar despite belonging to an unknown species. Admiral Zethmore found his voice after several seconds. Unknown vessel, identify your species and state your purpose in Imperial space. We are human. Our purpose has been observation and assessment. We have been monitoring your civilization's development and expansion patterns for approximately 63 of your standard years. The Admiral felt the blood drain from his face. 63 years. The Empire had been expanding aggressively during that time, conquering 14 systems and absorbing dozens of smaller civilizations. Every military operation, every conquest, every tactical decision had been watched by these humans. Where do you originate? He asked. Our homeworld is designated Sol 3 in your astronomical databases. You classify our system as a minor star cluster in the Outer Rim territories, too distant and resource-poor to merit Imperial attention. Admiral Zethmore accessed the star charts through his command interface. Sol 3 was indeed listed in their databases, but marked as inhabited by primitive mammals with early industrial technology. The last survey had been conducted over 200 years ago and classified the system as having no strategic or economic value. Our records indicate your species has not achieved faster than light travel, he stated. There was what sounded like amusement in the human voice. Your records are outdated, Admiral. We achieved practical FTL travel 112 years ago. We have been exploring this region of the galaxy ever since. The implications hit Admiral Zethmore like a physical blow. While the Empire had been focused on conquest and expansion, humanity had been secretly developing technology that surpassed their own. The humans had been watching from the shadows, learning, preparing. What do you want? He asked. Initially, nothing. We were content to observe and document your civilization's progress. However, your recent aggressive expansion toward systems containing pre-FTL civilizations has forced us to reveal ourselves. Admiral Zethmore thought about the Empire's current military campaigns. They were in the process of conquering the Bellan system, home to a species that had achieved basic spaceflight but not yet developed interstellar travel. It was a standard Imperial expansion, claiming resources and strategic territory. You object to lawful Imperial expansion? We object to the extinction of developing civilizations. The Bellan people have the right to develop without interference, as did the Xerians, the Multani, and the 7 other species you have eliminated in the past decade. The Admiral's temper flared. The Empire brings order and progress to chaotic regions of space. We offer civilization to primitive worlds. You offer slavery or death. We have observed your methods, Admiral. Comply or be destroyed. Submit or face genocide. This is not civilization. The bridge crew listened in stunned silence as their entire Imperial philosophy was challenged by an unknown voice from a supposedly primitive world. Admiral Zethmore struggled to maintain his composure. You speak boldly for representatives of a single small vessel. Admiral Zethmore, we need to be clear about the current situation. Pathfinder 7 is not alone. As if responding to some unseen signal, new contacts began appearing throughout Imperial space. The tactical display updated rapidly as dozens, then hundreds of red dots materialized around every major Imperial installation, fleet position, and military base. They appeared simultaneously across light years of space, demonstrating coordination and communication capabilities the Empire couldn't match. We have been preparing for this conversation for many years, the human voice continued. We hoped it would not be necessary. We hoped your species would choose a different path as you matured. Unfortunately, your recent actions have made intervention unavoidable. Admiral Zethmore stared at the tactical display showing human vessels surrounding every Imperial stronghold. The Empire's entire military force was outnumbered and outpositioned. Worse, every engagement attempt had proven their weapons and ships were completely outclassed. "What are your demands?" he asked quietly. "Cease all military operations against pre-FTL civilizations. Withdraw your forces from contested systems. Allow conquered species to choose their own path forward. End the practice of forced assimilation or elimination. And if we refuse?" The pause stretched for nearly 30 seconds. When the human voice returned, it carried a weight that made everyone on the bridge understand they were hearing an ultimatum. "Then we will stop you ourselves. We prefer cooperation, Admiral, but we will not allow genocide to continue in this region of space." Admiral Zethmore looked at his officers, seeing his own realization reflected in their faces. The Catherian Empire, supreme power in their region of the galaxy for over 1,000 years, had just discovered they were no longer in control of their own destiny. The age of imperial dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. The emergency session of the Imperial High Command convened within hours of first contact. Admiral Zethmore stood before the semicircular chamber where the Empire's most powerful leaders sat in judgment. Emperor Crixthul himself occupied the central throne, his ancient eyes showing the first signs of genuine concern in decades. "Explain to us, Admiral, how a species we classified as primitive mammals now holds our entire fleet hostage," the Emperor demanded. Admiral Zethmore activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. Images of the human vessels appeared along with sensor data and tactical analyses. "Your Majesty, our intelligence was catastrophically outdated. While we focused on conquering our immediate neighbors, humanity was developing technology that surpasses our own by several generations." Intelligence Minister Vox High leaned forward, his 4 arms gesturing at the data. "Our last survey of their system was 200 years ago. They showed basic industrial capability and primitive chemical rockets. How could they advance so rapidly? That appears to be their nature, Minister. Our analysis of intercepted communications suggests human technological development follows an exponential curve rather than the steady progression we see in most species. They advance faster as they learn more." Admiral Zethmore brought up comparative charts showing technological development rates across known species. The human curve was unlike anything in Imperial databases, rising sharply over the past 2 centuries while most civilizations showed gradual, predictable growth. Defense Minister Crixthul studied the tactical displays. "What are their current capabilities?" "Based on observed performance, their ships can achieve instantaneous travel between any 2 points in space. They ignore gravitational fields and inertial forces that should affect any object with mass. Their scanning technology can analyze our ships and installations in complete detail from distances where our sensors can barely detect them." "Weapons," the defense minister pressed. Admiral Zethmore hesitated. "Unknown. In every encounter, they demonstrated the ability to destroy our vessels but chose not to. This suggests either peaceful intentions or such overwhelming superiority that they see no threat from our military." Emperor Crixthul's expression darkened. "You're telling us they could have annihilated our fleets at any time but chose not to?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Analysis of their flight patterns through our formations shows they passed within meters of our ships while traveling at near light speed. The energy discharge alone should have destroyed anything nearby, yet our vessels remained undamaged. The precision required suggests technology we cannot comprehend." The chamber fell silent as the implications settled. The Catherian Empire had built their power on military might and technological superiority. Now they faced a species that could treat their greatest achievements as minor inconveniences. Intelligence Minister Vox High activated his personal data pad. "I've been reviewing historical records since the human contact. There are disturbing patterns that suggest this situation is worse than we initially understood." "Explain," the Emperor commanded. "Over the past 60 years, we've experienced what we attributed to unusual equipment failures, navigation errors, and communication disruptions during military operations. Systems would malfunction at critical moments. Battle plans would somehow reach enemy forces before our attacks. Ships would develop problems that forced delays in conquest timelines." Admiral Zethmore felt a chill of recognition. "You're suggesting sabotage?" "I'm suggesting observation and subtle interference. The humans admitted to monitoring us for 63 years. What if they've been doing more than watching? What if they've been influencing events to slow our expansion and protect vulnerable civilizations?" The minister brought up operational reports from dozens of Imperial campaigns. The pattern was clear once viewed with new understanding. Every major military operation against pre-FTL civilizations had encountered unexpected delays, equipment failures, or intelligence leaks that provided their targets with crucial advantages. The Bellan resistance, Admiral Zethmore said slowly. They somehow knew our attack routes and defensive positions. We assumed they had exceptional tactical intelligence. The Zarian evacuation, Defense Minister Nexthul added. Millions of civilians disappeared from targeted population centers hours before our bombardment began. We never found evidence of how they were warned. The Multani ships that vanished from our holding facilities, Intelligence Minister Voxhai continued, the ones carrying their cultural archives and genetic samples. They simply weren't there when we went to destroy them. Emperor Crixthul rose from his throne, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. You're telling us that humanity has been manipulating Imperial operations for decades? That our failures were not failures but sabotage? It explains many otherwise inexplicable events, Your Majesty. And it suggests their intervention in our affairs is not recent. They've been protecting developing civilizations from us for most of the past century. The Emperor's anger was palpable. The Catherian Empire had prided itself on military efficiency and tactical superiority. To learn that their setbacks were caused by hidden interference was both humiliating and terrifying. Admiral Zethmore accessed additional data files. There's more, Your Majesty. Communications analysis suggests humanity is not a single planetary civilization as we assumed. They appear to have established colonies or outposts throughout this region of space. Their technology allows rapid expansion without our detection. How many colonies? Unknown. Possibly dozens. Their communication networks operate on principles we don't understand, making interception nearly impossible. What we have detected suggests a civilization much larger and more advanced than our own. The chamber's attention focused on a new display showing estimated human territorial extent. Red zones marked confirmed human activity. Yellow zones marked probable human presence. Together they covered a region several times larger than the Catherian Empire. We've been living in their shadow without knowing it, Defense Minister Nexthul said quietly. All this time we thought we were the dominant power in this region of space. Worse, Intelligence Minister Voxhai added. They've been allowing us to think we were dominant, while secretly controlling our actions. Every victory we've achieved they permitted. Every conquest we've made, they approved or prevented according to their judgment. Emperor Crixthul returned to his throne, the weight of revelation settling on his shoulders. For over 1,000 years, the Catherian Empire had expanded without encountering any force capable of challenging their supremacy. They had grown accustomed to being the strongest, the most advanced, the most feared civilization in their region of space. What are our options? He asked finally. Admiral Zethmore looked around the chamber at faces reflecting his own helplessness. Based on demonstrated capabilities, military resistance is not viable. Their technology is simply too advanced. Our weapons cannot target them. Our ships cannot match their speed, and our intelligence cannot track their movements. Negotiation? They've made their position clear. Cease aggressive expansion against pre-FTL civilizations or face their direct intervention. Given their demonstrated capabilities, they have the power to enforce this ultimatum. Emperor Crixthul was quiet for a long moment, considering options that all led to the same conclusion. The Empire had encountered a force that could dictate terms rather than negotiate them. For the first time in Imperial history, they were not the strongest power in the room. Very well, he said finally. Contact the human vessel. Tell them we are prepared to discuss their terms. The age of Imperial expansion was over. The age of human oversight had begun. 3 months after first contact, Admiral Zethmore stood in the observation deck of Defense Platform Prime, watching something that would have been unthinkable just a year ago. Human ships moved freely through Imperial space, their sleek forms dwarfing even the largest Catherian vessels. They came and went as they pleased, monitoring Imperial activities with casual efficiency. The transformation had been swift and absolute. Within days of Emperor Crixthul's decision to negotiate, human representatives had arrived at the Imperial capital. Not warriors or conquerors, but diplomats, scientists, and what they called transition specialists. They came offering partnership rather than demanding surrender. Admiral, Communications Officer Talmesh approached with the day's reports. The Human Oversight Committee has approved the withdrawal of Imperial forces from the Bellan system. The evacuation is proceeding ahead of schedule. Admiral Zethmore nodded, still adjusting to the new reality. Imperial military operations now required human approval. Any action against pre-FTL civilizations was subject to review by human observers, who possessed the power to prevent it entirely. It was humiliating for a military commander, but the alternative had been the complete destruction of the Imperial fleet. What's the status of the Bellin people? According to human reports, they're being relocated to protected worlds where they can continue their development without interference. The humans have established what they call development zones throughout the region, areas where young civilizations can grow safely. The Admiral walked to the main viewing port, looking out at the stars that had once been Imperial territory. Now they were part of something much larger. The humans had revealed the existence of what they called the Galactic Development Council, an organization of advanced civilizations dedicated to protecting and nurturing younger species. Humanity, it turned out, was not unique in their technological advancement. They were simply the newest members of a community that spanned thousands of star systems and dozens of highly advanced species. The Catherian Empire, which had considered itself the pinnacle of galactic civilization, was actually one of the more primitive powers in their region of space. Sir, Tactical Officer Nexron joined them at the viewport. We've received an invitation from the Human Diplomatic Corps. They're offering technical exchange programs to help modernize our infrastructure. This was perhaps the most shocking aspect of the human approach. Rather than simply destroying or subjugating the Empire, they offered advancement. Human scientists worked alongside Catherian researchers, sharing knowledge and technology that advanced Imperial capabilities by centuries, but always with conditions. Always with oversight, always with the understanding that their new capabilities came with new responsibilities. What kind of technical exchange? Admiral Zethmore asked. Clean energy systems to replace our fusion reactors. Medical technology to extend lifespans and eliminate genetic diseases. Agricultural improvements to feed our population more efficiently. Nexron paused. And spacefold technology. Spacefold technology, the human method of instantaneous travel, that had made their ships untrackable and unstoppable. The Admiral had seen demonstrations of human vessels appearing and disappearing at will, moving instantly between distant points in space. Now they were offering to share this ultimate strategic advantage. At what cost? Continued compliance with Galactic Development Council protocols. No aggressive expansion. No forced assimilation of other species. No military action against civilizations that pose no direct threat to Imperial territory. Admiral Zethmore considered this carefully. The Empire was being offered technology that would make them one of the most advanced civilizations in known space. In exchange, they had to give up the aggressive expansion that had defined their culture for over a millennium. The Emperor's response? He's scheduled to meet with the human ambassador tomorrow. Preliminary discussions suggest he's willing to accept their terms. A new contact appeared on the tactical display, announcing itself as a human transport vessel. Admiral Zethmore watched as it approached the defense platform, moving with the smooth confidence of a species that no longer worried about hostile reception. The ship was beautiful in its simplicity, clearly designed by a civilization that had moved beyond the need for intimidating military aesthetics. Admiral, the ship's human captain spoke over the communication system. We have representatives from several liberated worlds aboard. They've requested permission to address the Imperial High Command about reconstruction efforts in their home systems. Liberated worlds. The term still stung. Systems that had been conquered by Imperial forces were now independent again, their people free to choose their own path forward. Many had requested human assistance in rebuilding what the Empire had destroyed. Others had surprisingly chosen to maintain diplomatic relations with the Empire under the new galactic protocols. Permission granted, Admiral Zethmore replied. Defense Platform Prime will provide full support for your diplomatic mission. As the human ship docked with the platform, the Admiral reflected on how completely his world had changed. 6 months ago, he had commanded fleets that conquered star systems and eliminated entire civilizations. Now he provided security for diplomatic meetings between former Imperial subjects and their former conquerors. The strange thing was that it felt right. The Empire had built its power on fear and military superiority, but it had also built resentment and hatred throughout their region of space. The human model of cooperation and mutual development was producing better results in months than Imperial conquest had achieved in decades. Sir, Communications Officer Talmesh returned with another update. We've received word from the Outer Territories. The first graduating class from the Human Technological Institute is returning to Imperial space. They're requesting permission to begin implementing new infrastructure projects. Young Catherians educated by humanity, returning home with knowledge and perspectives their parents could never have imagined. They spoke of civilizations that numbered in the millions of worlds, of technologies that could reshape matter at the atomic level, of exploration missions that had mapped galaxies beyond the reach of conventional travel. More importantly, they spoke of responsibility. The human educational system emphasized that advanced capabilities came with obligations to protect and nurture less advanced civilizations. It was a philosophy completely opposite to imperial tradition, but one that their young people embraced enthusiastically. "Admiral," a new voice called from behind him. He turned to see Captain Sarah Chen of the Human Diplomatic Corps, a small woman whose species looked deceptively fragile despite their overwhelming technological superiority. "Captain Chen, how can I assist you? I wanted to personally thank you for your cooperation during this transition period. I know it hasn't been easy for your people to adjust to such dramatic changes." Admiral Zethmore studied the human officer. She carried no visible weapons, commanded no visible fleet, yet represented a power that could eliminate the Catherian Empire without effort. Her casual manner and genuine courtesy were more unsettling than threats would have been. "Your people have been generous in victory," he admitted. "We don't see this as victory, Admiral. We see it as the beginning of a partnership. Your civilization has tremendous potential. The engineering skills that built this defense platform, the organizational abilities that managed a 17-system empire, the military discipline that maintained order across vast distances. These are valuable capabilities that can contribute to galactic development." She gestured toward the stars visible through the viewport. "Out there are thousands of young civilizations that need protection, guidance, and support as they develop. The Galactic Development Council is always seeking new member species with the experience and capabilities to help." Admiral Zethmore felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Not for conquest or expansion, but for purpose that extended beyond imperial borders. The idea of using Catherian military organization to protect developing civilizations rather than conquer them was revolutionary. What would that involve? Partnership with human oversight teams to establish development zones around pre-FTL civilizations. Joint research projects to solve problems facing young species. Cultural exchange programs to share knowledge and perspectives. Captain Chen smiled. And eventually full membership in the Galactic Development Council with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The Admiral looked out at the stars again, seeing them with new eyes. They were no longer territory to be conquered, but civilizations to be protected. The Catherian Empire was ending, but the Catherian people could have a future more significant than anything they had achieved through conquest. "When do we begin?"